Welcome back to the fourth bonus video, Lesson 1, Week 1, the ultimate guide to Adobe Bridge CC. All right, now I need to talk to you about cache, C-A-C-H-E, specifically. I'm going to show you where this is found. We're going to set up our settings, and I'm going to give you a silly analogy to explain it. All right, PC users, you're going to find this preference under Edit, Preferences. Mac users, it's under Adobe Bridge Preferences. We're going in. The default is to start at General, but we're going to come down to Cache, and we'll play a little bit with Cache Management. Let's start with Cache. You're going to get yourself in trouble if you don't pay close attention to what I say in this bonus video. It will eat your hard drive alive if you don't have enough hard drive space. The cache size. Now I've cranked my cache size to the maximum. It's going to go full bore. It's a huge space to store my cache. Now I can afford to do that because I have an 8 terabyte internal hard drive. The next bonus video that I'm going to share with you is going to be setting up the very best, choosing the very best computer specs for photo editing. You'll get the gory details there, but one of the 3 things you're going to need is a larger hard drive, and particularly for this purpose, cache. Let me explain what cache is like. This is my silly analogy. My wife has a delicious chocolate chip cookie recipe, and if I said, honey, I'm really dying for that chocolate chip recipe to be, enacted, she might say in love, oh, well, let me go down to the grocery store. She'd get in the car, she'd drive to the grocery store. Now, her recipe only calls for 1 egg and 1 cup of milk. So she's going to go in and buy 1 egg and 1 cup of milk and a half cup of sugar, and she's going to make me that recipe. Yum, yum. Now, let's say that in 3 days I've eaten them all. It usually takes a day, but she decides she's going to do it again and love on me. So she drives down to the grocery store. Meanwhile, my belly is grumbling. She buys 1 egg. She buys 1 cup of milk, half cup of sugar, and she does this every 3 days. Well, it wouldn't be long, I suppose, before one of us went, you know what? Why don't we buy a dozen eggs and a gallon of milk and a bag of sugar, and let's put the milk and the eggs in the refrigerator. The refrigerator is the cache. And when you ask Bridge for its chocolate chip cookie recipe, when you ask Bridge to go edit a photo, it remembers the last 100,000 or so of the instructions that you gave it, and it doesn't have to drive all the way down to the grocery store. It doesn't have to go all the way to the hard drive. Look at all the instructions in embedded files, one instruction at a time, and come back with the equivalent of 1 egg or 1 cup of sugar or 1 cup of milk every time you ask it to perform a particular task. No, the cache is a quick way. I say, honey, how about that chocolate chip cookie recipe? All she does is opens the refrigerator door. We're done. It's a quick access to the most recent instructions and commands. And you can speed up Bridge and Lightroom and Photoshop if you save more to the cache. Now, a decent sized refrigerator is all you need. You can overdo it. What if my son was in college and I said, son, you need what we've got, a refrigerator, and I bought him this giant room-sized cache, this giant room-sized refrigerator, and I stuck it in his dorm room. Dad, he's going to say, you're killing me. It's way too much. All I put in there is a 6-pack of beer and a cup of milk. Right? I mean, it can be oversized. It can be overkill. At some point, when you have a cache that's too large, it comes at a detriment to the rest of the hard drive. So you're trying to figure out what a good balance is here. How much refrigerator, how much cache is big enough without being too big. Right. Based on the size of the real estate that I have at hand, my hard drive, I've determined that I can really crank my cache, which means everything I do in Bridge is really quick. But your mileage will vary. If you don't have a very big hard drive and you set this too high, it's going to eat up the rest of your empty hard drive space with cache. It's going to be the equivalent of 2 large refrigerators in your tiny dorm room. You're going to have to play with this. By default, Adobe sets this relatively small, your cache, but that means that you're going to run relatively slowly. And so you might increase this in increments. Set it, hit OK, quit Bridge, reopen Bridge, that new cache will take effect. Work for a week or so. Check your hard drive space. If you got plenty, come back to Bridge, set it a little higher, quit Bridge, relaunch Bridge. It'll activate that new cache size, and you'll be good to go. This is why I spent an extra bonus video talking about just the cache. It's so important. Now, Adobe must know how important this is, because with each version, with each iteration of upgrades to Bridge, they keep unpacking more and more and more and more cache settings. Let's go through the rest of these, okay? Where is my cache stored? It shows me it's in my user folder, Rick, Library, Caches, Adobe, Bridge 2021. Now, I can't get to it there. Here's why. Because it's on the next cache management screen. Where does it save your cache? And you can change that location. Now, you don't have to. By default, it chooses a folder inside your library or inside your application support folder. But if you needed to change that, that's where you would go. I also come here to see, well, where is the thing? Where is it? So I can go out and see how much space it's actually taking me. All right, so that's where you would change it. Let's go back up to the regular cache prep. Keep 100% previews in cache. Bridge takes a while to build these little previews as you're working on your files, and you may open a folder and you're waiting for the preview to build. It will be quicker if you store the previews in the cache. I've done that, and I've given it quite a large cache. You see that. Now, when I leave, every time I quit Bridge, it will compact the cache if I check this button. Now, I don't, but you could, and it keeps your hard drive cleaner, right? It looks and sees what images you've thrown away, and it will remove those thumbnail caches. Adobe recommends that you do that on exit when you quit. You could choose to do that. I do it manually later, and I'll show you that too. This is a speed enhancement here. Automatically import cache from folders. So I can export the cache invisibly to a folder full of images. And if I send that folder to someone else and they have this turned on, it will automatically import the cache that I saved to that folder. If I send this to a magazine and I've exported my cache to the folder, they don't see it, but when they open it in Bridge, if this setting is turned on, Bridge sees it, automatically saves them time as well. Here's the one thing I would advise seriously: do not check purge cache older than 30 days. That is the default. But what that means is that any of your photos that are older than 30 days, it throws away the cache. You can't see those and activate those quickly. And that's not good for me with my portfolio. Lots of images in my portfolio are older than 30 days, so I've unchecked that. All right, cache management. I told you earlier, I don't compact my cache on exit because I come in here and manually do it when I feel like it. Compact my cache now. What does it do exactly? It explains. Optimize your cache, clean it up, by removing obsolete cache records, thumbnails you don't need anymore, and their associated JPEGs. The thumbnails are JPEGs stuck on top of your RAW files. So if I don't have the RAW files anymore, please get rid of those JPEG files. Get rid of those thumbnails, those obsolete thumbnails. It doesn't hurt you for anything that you still have. You can also say purge 100% previews. If your hard drive is really running low, you can say throw away my big previews, please. I wouldn't do that because it sets you back to square one unless it's an emergency. Man, my hard drive is full. I need to purge, wipe out my cache, get my hard drive back. That's where you would go. This is a manual management of the cache. Purge your cache. Boy, this is the big wipeout. Don't just wipe out my previews. Wipe out all of my bridge cache files. That's a big wipeout. And so you can see that under cache management, the only thing I really do cache management is I note where it's saving my cache, and I might come in and manually compact my own cache. But these other two are sort of a mini clean and a major clean, and I use those with discretion. All right, I'll leave it at that. I'm going to say okay. One other place you might notice is that if you're on a photograph in Bridge, I've tapped it once, and I could go up to the file menu and say, I'd like to edit this image or open this image in the Camera Raw editor. Command R for Rick. Not really. Said so. Command R for Raw. And I can edit. Well, now it's storing my edits in the Camera Raw prefs, which we saw earlier is separate. There's a Bridge pref and there's a Camera Raw pref. I'll cancel. In Bridge itself, there's one more button that you might want to pay attention to. Now, I'm in the list view. I showed you that in week one's major video. At the bottom, right? 1, 2, 3, 4 different list views. And you can see that there's browse quickly by preferring embedded images. Well, all my images are embedded because of my prefs. Here, options for thumbnail quality and preview generation. Always generate my previews. It's storing those in cache. And I want them to be monitor sized or high quality, right? So I'm asking, these are other little preview cache settings here set. Man, there's a lot of stuff that's hidden here. But when I activate these things, it really speeds up my Bridge. All right, that's it.